How's it going, everybody? So in this video I'm going to be showing you a deck I've been working on that utilizes the card Evolution Endburst. This is a semi-new Cyber Dragon card that came out in Maze of Memory. This card makes Chimeratech Overdragon pretty awesome, so I've been testing and experimenting with this deck to try and find some optimal build, and I'll discuss some things that I've found. Starting off with the monsters, 3 Cyber Dragon. We are running the machine dupe build because we do need 6 or more materials in order to get the full effect of Evolution Endburst. So with this first iteration of the deck, I think that just made sense. 2 core, obviously, because we want as many starters as possible. I opted to play 2 Hers because it's another machine dupe target. We aren't playing Galaxy Soldier, but we are playing Horizon, so this is going to be one of the main targets we're going to send to the graveyard. I decided to play 2 Naxters, again another machine dupe target, although I think 1 might be fine in this deck, but for this iteration did run 2. So that's all for the Cyber Dragon stuff. For the Cyber Dark stuff, I decided to add this package because I thought it'd be fitting. I decided to play 3 Claw because it's, again, a starter of the deck and how we're going to get Cyber Dark Realm or Cybernetic Horizon from our deck to our hand. We can also equip this to one of our Cyber Dark monsters to send things from the extra deck to the graveyard, which could help fuel Overdragon. I wanted to run 1 Edge and 1 Horn. This is to help get us more machines in the graveyard, but also get us another big body on the board as an alternative win condition. I decided to run 1 Chimera. If I was running the Power Bond, I probably would run 2 in this deck, but I'm only focusing on the Evolution Endburst. That might be a mistake, but that's something I'm going to consider in the next evolution of the deck. This card's great because when we send it to the graveyard, we can send another Cyber Dark monster to the graveyard. So again, fueling our graveyard to make Overdragon even larger. Running 1 Cannon. Cannon's great because you can just send it to the graveyard from your hand. You can grab one of your Cyber Dark monsters, summon the Cyber Dark monster, then equip Cannon to that. You get a lot of value when you attack, and when it also dies, you can draw a card. So this is the complete Cyber Dragon and Cyber Dark package. The main goal of this was to get as many machine monsters in the graveyard as quickly as possible, and we are playing a hefty amount of them. For our flex spots, I opted to play 2 Kaiju. We do have a lot of ways to remove this, and I think 2 or 3 is pretty good right now. And then just for some hand traps, we're running 3 Ash. And then I put 1 Ogre in here, but I mean, Droll and Lockbridge I know is pretty good too now, so those are all pretty much flex spots. We are running about 5 of them. That rounds out the monsters. For the spell and traps, we are running 3 Evolution Endburst. Just in case you don't know what this card does, we get to add 1 Overload Fusion from our deck to our hand, and if we do Fusion Summon with Overload Fusion this turn with 6 or more monsters, that monster can attack a number of times each battle phase up to the number of monsters used as fusion materials. So really the only target here is Overdragon, and Overdragon states that it can only attack monsters up to the number of times of monsters used as fusion material. So this just makes it so you can attack your opponent directly, which is pretty spicy and fun. So yeah, obviously running 3 because I wanted to play test the card. I want to make one quick note that this is a normal spell, so triple tactics thrust can actually hit this. So if you want to build probably the most competitive version of this deck, you're obviously probably going to run 1 of these or 2 of these and then the triple tactics thrust. But if you have like 70-80 bucks to spend on a copy of those cards, you're probably not going to play this type of deck, but again, it is an option, something to consider, but I do not have that. Running 2 Overload Fusion just in case, one gets negated or something happens, you draw 1, you still want Evolution Endburst to resolve to get that additional benefit. I opted to play 1 Cyber Load Fusion. Reason for this is because we are going to have a lot of banished monsters, and I want a way to kind of bring them back just in case if something happens where we can't kill with Chimeratech Overdragon. I don't want all of our monsters to get banished with no wave recursion, so that's why it's in there. And this is one of the reasons why I didn't play Power Bond, because the thought of playing even more fusions just seemed like overkill, and I want the main focus to be around Overload Fusion. Obviously for the starters, we're running 3 Emergency and 1 Repair Plant. Pretty generic here. Running 2 Realm. I didn't really see a reason to run a 3rd because we are running 3 Cyber Dark Claw, and we can also search this off of core, but I didn't want to run just 1 in case it gets negated or something. Running 2 Cybernetic Horizon, kind of same reason as Realm. I really want 1 to resolve, and in case something happens, I want to have another way of getting it out. Cybernetic Horizon is probably one of the best cards in this deck to get or fuel our graveyard with monsters that we can then fusion summon into Chimeratech Overdragon, because we get to send 1 from our hand and 1 from our deck. That's immediately 2. If you can get Hers or Chimera, you're getting an additional card, and you're also sending a machine from your extra deck to the graveyard, so you're immediately getting a lot of monsters into that graveyard. So yeah, Horizon is a really good card in this deck. And we're running 3 machine dupe just to get some extra cards into the field or onto the field. I might end up dropping the machine dupes because Horizon just seemed to be a much better card to kind of build the deck around, but it is another option. And 1 Overflow just because we're running so many Cyber Dragon names, and removal is great. You can kind of see I'm not running any board breakers or anything in this. This was mainly just focused around we got to get as many monsters on the field or in the graveyard as possible, and let's just summon Evolution Endburst with a huge attacking boy. That's why running triple tactics thrust would be great because we would only need to run 1 of these because we can search it out, and that would allow us to free up our deck a lot more. For the extra deck, I wanted to run 2 Chimeratech Overdragons. I think 1 is acceptable, but I really wanted to make sure I was getting this card out. Every time I got Evolution Endburst off, I won the game with Overdragon. The only problem I encountered was the inconsistency with actually summoning the monster. Because Evolution Endburst isn't searchable, it makes it a lot worse, but it's still a cool card. Running the Eternity, you definitely need that card because that's going to be one of the main monsters you send to the graveyard off of Cybernetic Horizon. Then you can banish it and protect Overdragon, or I guess any other fusion monsters. We are running 2 Mega Fleet to get rid of our opponent's Link monsters. I did originally have 1 in this deck, but I can't not run 2 because every time I don't run 2, I wish I did. So I'm keeping 2 and we're going to keep it that way. 1 Fortress Dragon just to get rid of Jizikiro and any of our other opponent's monsters. We're only running 1 Rampage Dragon because I had to free up a lot of slots and space was getting pretty tight. I decided to put in 2 Elder Entists as cards to send off when we have Claw equipped to a creature. I think this could probably go down to 1 because I didn't really encounter that often, but it's a good option just in case. 1 Nova and 1 Infinity as our rank 5 play. This is probably a mistake because we are running Machine Dupe in this deck, so probably 2 of these or some other higher ratio would make more sense. Running 1 Almirage as a way to get rid of our Cyber Dragons and send to the graveyard. Running 1 Line, 1 Unicorn as a nice way of just some removal, and 1 Seer because you just have to. I decided to run the 1 Nightmare Unicorn because there's just a lot of problems out there and I really wanted ways to remove them. And the way I built this deck, it pretty much innately lacks a lot of that removal. So at least with the Unicorn, I can try to remove something. For the next iteration of this deck, I definitely need to work on the extra deck a little bit more, as well as try and free up some more slots for some other hand traps or board breakers. The main thing I encountered with the version of this deck with the matchups I was playing was that I just didn't have enough interaction to slow my opponent down enough where like the following turns I can actually do something productive. This deck needs to set up to do really well. You're not going to be able to necessarily combo every single turn. It might take 2 turns to actually set up this and actually get this in your hand to resolve it. I think building the deck around this card doesn't make as much sense. I think adding this card to the deck can make it pretty good. However, building a deck specifically around it might not be most ideal, again, because you can't search it. I'm not giving up on this deck just yet because I did have a lot of fun and want to try some other stuff, so I'm probably going to either build or go down the more negate route where we're going to try and slow my opponent down while I build up my graveyard and then eventually draw Evolution Endburst. Again, this is not like a competitive deck or anything, we're just trying to summon a really cool monster, but I think that would make the most sense, so that's going to be the next iteration of this. Stay tuned for that video and other Cyber Dragon content. See you all in another video.